Friends, if you're like me, the most astonishing thing about this COVID-19 madness, complete madness, has been the malleability of people and the willingness to blindly comply to whatever the so-called experts tell us, in spite of all evidence. For example, in spite of a 99.9% survival rate. So if you're like me, the susceptibility to propaganda has been the most nauseating and surprising thing about all of this. But I suppose it shouldn't be surprising, because we are subjected to non-stop propaganda in every form and across every medium, unlike any other age in history. Let's take a look at a couple of reviews here. 5 stars by Steve. He says, "You need to know this. Here finally is a book that gives insight and form to the system that we are living under." This is from 2019, a year ago. "The architects, those guys in the think tanks, have read this and are following the path described. Does the Great Reset ring a bell? It's a long game. Yes, this has been in the works for decades. For many years, the game slowly advanced bit by bit, piece by piece. Now the board is just about filled out, and we can begin to see the shape of what's been planned all these years." Good man, Steve, from almost exactly a year ago. "Many of our defenses have been overcome. There's not much holding back the tyranny that many of us are happily ascending to. The world described by Elul is becoming all too real for us." How right you are, Steve. Yes, this tyranny is a mixture of Orwell's 1984 and Huxley's Brave New World. And it's as if the tyrants have looked to these dystopian novels not as warnings, but as blueprints. The tyranny is being ushered in under the guise of safety, comfort, and all the rest of it. And meanwhile, we are progressively dehumanized. Let's now take a look at this review by Garth Jeffcoat from 2017. He says, "This book keeps blowing my mind. Every page is engaging and relevant, despite being written in the 60s. All right, well, let's just pass over his chronological snobbery. He's been propagandized in chronological snobbery like we all have. So let's not hold that against him. If you want to be able to identify propaganda, get this book. Be warned, though, it will spook you, much like reading Orwell's 1984 for the first time. And as I just said, I would add Huxley's Brave New World to it, because it really is a mixture of those two books." All right, friends, I commend this book to you, and I urge you to resist this blasted, satanic tyranny. Life cannot be sterilized, and the attempt to sterilize it brings hell on earth, as we're increasingly discovering with each passing day. Every attempt to build heaven on earth, to immanentize the eschaton, as has been said, always leads to hell on earth. Heaven is only for heaven. This is a fallen world, and it cannot be made unfallen. It seems that yet again we have to learn that these attempts to build heaven on earth lead only to hell on earth. Yet again we have to learn this lesson. How stupid are we? Within the last 100 years, just a century, a grain of sand in the scope of time. More people have been murdered in attempts to build heaven on earth than in all previous ages of history combined. Yet the myth of progress endures. Incredible! And yet we're trying to do it again with this great reset. Madness. Total madness. Resist in whatever small ways you can. Resist and pray. Holiness, a holy life, will be your best weapon against this insanity.